Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a fun project for you that could be, I used mine to say celebrate every moment, but it could be a birthday card. In fact, maybe we'll make this one a birthday card. It could be just about anything, and it's using some of the free celebration paper. The paper is the one with the foil on it with the bees, and I'll put the name up on the video screen for you. And I'm going to show you how you can cut a hexagon for your message. So let's just get started. Okay, here is our project for the day. It really is a very simple card. The only thing that's a little tricky is learning how to cut these hexagons out. So let me tell you what you need to make this card. I am using, well, I've got lots of things in here, but what I'm using is a black base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then for the inside of the card, I have a piece of Whisper White that is 4 by 5 1/4. Then for the outside front of the card, I have 3 pieces of paper. 2 are designer series paper from this absolutely beautiful suite of papers. They are called the Golden Honeybee Specialty Designer Series paper. Okay, so these are some of the ones that I'm using. This one with the black and gold honeycomb has this simple black and white pattern, can be used any time of the year. This one with the flowers that are foiled and the honeybees. This one has a black and white stripe pattern on the back. And these are some of the others. This one is a broken dash pattern on the diagonal, and the dashes are foiled on white. And then this pretty black and white flower with leaves is what's printed on the back of that one. Then there's this beautiful black and gold striped material, and on the back of that one is this pretty little tiny flower print, very pretty. So the fronts are foiled and the backs are black and white. And so here's the honeybees and hives and little hexagons, like a part of a beehive, I suppose. And on the back of that are these pretty black and white polka dots with hexagons around them. Then there's this honeycomb pattern, and on the back side of it are little bees and beehives and flowers. One more. No, I think that's it. We've looked at these already. These are the ones that I'm using for today's card. Okay, so that is the Golden Honeybee paper, and that is free in sale abration. Isn't that fun? It is so beautiful. So what I have cut are 3 pieces of card. This one is So Saffron. I wanted kind of a lighter yellow. And so these are all cut 5 3/8 by 2 inches. So you can get quite a few of these out of your piece of pattern paper. And then you need a pretty large piece of scrap of black, and you need a pretty large piece of scrap of Whisper White, which I'm not seeing here, but yeah, that's what you need. Okay, so how do you cut the hexagons? I am using the nested stitched nested labels dies, and if you think about it, that is half of a hexagon. So I figured out, so that you don't have to, that in order to make a perfect hexagon on these papers, and I've cut a black one and a white one here, and what you need to do is cut out, I used the largest and the second largest of the stitched nested labels. and I cut one of each of those out. Actually, I cut quite a few of those out. But I measured this from here to here. And from here to here, on the smaller of the two, it is 1 3/8 inches. So if you mark across here 1 3/8 inches, and then you replace this die so that that little mark that goes across, I marked 1 3/8 on both sides and then drew a little pencil mark. And then I put my die back in place, and you will feel that if that line were to go all the way across, where would it come to that corner? So it's a bit like that. I'll bring that up so you can see it. And then you just manipulate this die, and it'll catch in these little stitch marks that are already there. And then when you cut that out, you get pretty close to a perfect hexagon. And the same thing with the black. With the black, from here to here, it's actually 1.5 inches. So I measured down 1.5 inches and put a tick mark and drew my line across. Then I put my larger die back on here and let those stitch marks catch the teeth in the die, and then sliced that off and came up with a hexagon. So it's really very simple, and I plan to keep this and this with my nested dies in my container that I keep my dies in, so that I know that this makes perfect hexagons. And that way I've got kind of a template, and you can repeat it over and over when you choose to. Okay, so that is how I made my hexagon pieces. All right, so once you do that, this is the simplest card in the world. I am using the Honeybee Cling Stamp set, and from this I'm using this little honeybee. I'm using Celebrate Every Moment and one of these flowers. They kind of go both directions, and I mounted one. I think I'm using this one, the one that goes that way. And I thought on this one I might change this message to be birthday. One of my favorite birthday sentiments is this one, Happy Birthday from Here's a Card. So maybe we'll use that one today. I think that'll continue to fit on there. We'll have to move the things around a little bit, but that's just fine. Okay, so what we're going to do to put this together, let me take these pieces out of the way, is let's do our stamping first. And we're going to do our stamping on the hexagon and on the inside piece of the card. All right, so on the inside of my card, all I did was put a couple of flowers and the bee, and then I colored them in. So I'm going to do that. I'm using my Memento, because I'm using my blends to get my colors here. And so on here, I want to put a little piece of scratch paper down first. And I'm going to put a flower here in the corner, and then another flower just below it here. And then I'm going to put my little honeybee coming at the flowers from the side. There we go. All right. Now then, I'm going to let that dry for just a second. And while that does it, I'm going to put some stamps on my hexagon. So the first thing I'm going to do is mount my Happy Birthday stamp here. Just put that on and get that set right in the middle, but maybe over to this one side a bit. So there's my Happy Birthday. Then I'm going to put 3 flowers along the bottom. And put my little honeybee be up in this corner. There we go. And that, I think, looks just fine. Now, what I'm going to do is use my blender pens. And I'm not very happy with the way the coloring came out on the previous ones. So I'm going to try using the dark pineapple punch to put some color, there we go, down on my little flowers. I just couldn't get the right color down with the others. And I like this nice bright yellow. Okay. And then I did use our glittered organdy ribbon, this ribbon, to make the little knot bow that I put on the top here. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but that knot bow, the little glitters on it are gold instead of silver, and this comes in silver. So what I did was I cut a length of this ribbon, and I used my scratch paper here, and then I took my yellow or gold marker pen here and just went across those little glitter pieces and turned them kind of yellow, and they look gold then, and then it matches my card perfectly. And I'm going to do both sides, because you know when you tie a bow you never know which end's going to come up on top. So I'm just going to put some of this marker pen on there, and then I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. And you see the effect immediately is that those glitter pieces now look like gold instead of silver. Clever, easy fix. And I see I missed some spots there, right about where my knot is going to be. Okay, and I'm going to take the lighter pineapple punch, and I'm going to color in the bee's body here, on there and on this one, to give him a little yellow hue on his body. So now this card is really ready to be put together. It's so simple. So here's my card base, and we're going to put this piece on the inside, and I'm just going to add some snail to the back of my card and put this piece into place. Oh, Linda, that is hopelessly not even. So let's try that again. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now it's got a similar margin all the way around. All right, now on these pieces, and since I might have to pick them up and move them, I'm going to use my dot runner on these pieces. And I set this first one down right along the edge of the fold here, leaving a very tiny border. I'm talking like a 1/16 of an inch, not much at all, and leaving, this is cut 5 3/8, so it's also a very tiny border at the top and the bottom. Then next I put on my yellow piece and then dry fit this one so that they'll have roughly the same. This is the one that'll end up with the most showing, but I'm thinking that that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and add my snail on the back of this piece and set it down right about here. And depending on, because this is geometric, you can line this up pretty accurately. And I want the top and bottom edges to match so that it looks like one continuous piece, and then add these pieces, this last piece on here, and this one I'm going to even up with the top border and leave ever so slight a border on this end. Oops, that piece looks like it's not oh dear, not quite long enough. You know, I think I'm going to cut another piece. I've got the piece right here, and I'm just going to cut another piece. So 2 inches, and then 5 3/8, and maybe a smidge. And let's set that one aside and get this piece ready to go down here. Oh, I'm much happier with that. Okay, so I just need to get this on here straight so that it matches the top. And then has a straight border on the side, and the rest should line up. There we go. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, I ended up having off camera to redo this little hexagon. I put a fatal piece of black ink across the the other one. So now I am ready to put these two together like this and just add a little bit of snail to the back of this one. And oops, I can still see my pencil mark across there. Need to get rid of that so that it doesn't show up. And I think what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to put these two together and then raise this whole piece up on dimensionals. And so I'm going to add, oh, this would be a good place to use my black dimensionals. So I'm going to use some of my black dimensionals on the back of my hexagon. So mine now says happy birthday, and I want to have this centered on the card. There we go. Now we have our little piece of ribbon that we colored from before, and what I'm going to do is just tie a simple knot in this ribbon, and I want it very small. There we go. A nice simple knot. And I'm going to trim the edges and make it pretty small. And I'm going to put a glue dot and put that right up here in the corner. So here we go. Right up here in the corner. And doesn't that just dress up the front of that card a little? Very fun. All right, so there is my project for the day. Thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. And if you hit the little notifications, the little bell, then you'll be notified every time I put up a video. Okay, so here is our project decorated inside and out. The only thing I want to do is one more time show you on this so that you get perfect hexagons, that this one was 1.5 inches down, that you would put your mark and put your line across. And then when you put this in place, you can move it out of the way and see where your mark is and put your corner right where that mark is. And that way you'll be sure and have, let me just do it so that I'm not telling you, I'm showing you. Okay, so 1.5 inches from that edge is right here. 1.5 inches from this edge is right here. Then we're going to draw a line across here. Doesn't have to be much, it can be very faint. It shows up even on the black. And then when you go to put this, I know it feels like it's a little short, but it's not. You see here, I'm lining up this corner with my pencil line, moving that across until I feel the teeth grab a hold of that. Now that, when I cut it, will make a perfect hexagon. Same thing with the white. That's 1 3/8 of an inch. And so 1 3/8 and 1.5 from the two largest of these will make a perfect hexagon every time. Okay, there we go. And let's see. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. The join offer right now is absolutely spectacular. It is, in fact, $125 worth of product for $99. And in addition to that, you get the little mini trimmer, and then you get a sampler of the designer series papers in the mini catalog, and then you get another stamp set of your choice. I think it's worth about $185, so for $99. So it's a wonderful time to join. And so if you'd like to talk about it, my telephone number always appears just below the video. I'd be happy to chat with you about it. My prize for the month of January is a bundle of your choice out of the mini catalog. And the way to get yourself into my drawing is to put an order of any size on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, which is www.ingenuity.com. So thanks again, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!